Hi everyone, my name is Matt Slavin. I've been a developer at Sapient for around 10 years now. Before that, I worked as a dev at a few other agencies, and before that, I came from a background in design. I also picked up a master's in software engineering along the way, and I've always been creative, whether dabbling in music, design, or development. Anyway, creativeness and creativity have always been important to me, and that's why I'd like to quickly talk today about creative tooling and its role in the pursuit of next. In terms of tooling, I'm actually referencing, in my opinion, developers' next most important app after the IDE, the note-taking app. And I'd like to talk about why a recent revelation to me has created a whole new area of features that I didn't know I needed. Furthermore, in a small way, it's transformed how I work, how I approach my work, and my attitude towards the projects and tasks that I undertake. Firstly, I'd like to take a quick step back and talk about the tools I was using and why I needed an alternative. So I've classically used Evernote, and for a number of years it's been pretty good, although I've never fully understood some of the hype that has surrounded it in the past. But then more recently, and bogged down with the $8 a month subscription for what now seems like basic features, I started looking around for other options. My first port of call was Onenote, and although I actually quite liked it, I found that it was missing a number of key areas. Primarily, code blocks weren't supported, and it kept on spell checking my variables, which is somewhat annoying and made it unusable for me. So I kept on looking. Speaking to some colleagues here at Sapient, Bear was a contender and Apple Notes was also mentioned, but doing a quick search online led me to a number of conversations and people in a similar boat, and there seemed to be a few note-taking apps now doing the rounds. I then came across this conversation of Dev.to, and it seemed to rest on Notion, which was an app that I hadn't heard of before. So I tried it out and I was pretty impressed. I'm going to go through a few of its features in a minute, but just wanted to mention there was a point when I was testing it out that I realized that it was more than just a note-taking app. I realized that it filled a gap in my workflow that I didn't know I had. I was keeping a log of health stats at the time. This included some contextual information about what had gone on during the day. I wanted to see if there were correlations between health barometers such as weight, how much water I was drinking, how much exercise I was doing, not a lot, how much sleep I was getting, and then a text component, almost like a journal. So I diligently updated the data in a Google Sheet and then interpreted trends with a graph, but the tabular data format was really dry and didn't really allow me to do anything with the information other than view it as a table. I could see that doing a similar thing in Notion would allow me to add valuable data, but also add notes and images as well. I'd be able to toggle easily between views, so I could see values in a calendar, for example, of when each entry was taken, and I could easily add notes as well that weren't constrained by the table format that you have to fit into when creating a Google Sheet. This made updating that kind of information easy, interesting, and flexible, and it made it so much more compelling to keep working on it. So this was a revelatory moment for me. I could see this being used in many other areas. Tools where tables were being used, but where they also required a dynamic component, which linked with values or other objects contained in the table. Clear, attractive access to data, content, variables, and images without the traditional constraints of a database table or lack of features from a traditional notebook app. So I'd just like to chat about it for a bit, show you some of those features, and let you know why I think it's changed the way I work and more broadly, the landscape of note-taking apps in general. I also think it has potential to remove the need for other apps such as Google Sheets, Confluence, Jira, and Trello, and also try and give a follow-up overview of how the app has transformed my own personal workflow and changed my attitude to how I approach day-to-day tasks. So there are a number of key areas that really shone out for me. It's intuitive and easy to use and get started, although there is a learning curve to get the most out of the application. It looks pretty, and I love the way I can customize certain notes with their own images, which makes finding and scanning notes easier and faster. It's easier to create internal pages, and it performs well as the foundation of a wiki. Markdown is mostly supported. There are some caveats, but on the whole, it's pretty robust. And then there's the concept of blocks. These give you the ability to toggle any piece of text into a Kanban board, a table view, or a calendar. This means that every note that you create can be and have its own database. So there's quite a lot there. Let me just demonstrate some of these features. Okay, so here I've created a new work group. This is the Getting Started page. This is the default page that you'll see when opening up a new project. We can very quickly get started writing out a new note, and the way you do that is by selecting a new block type if you want something other than text, and then just start typing. The block types in Notion come in two main variances, basic and database. The basic blocks are used for formatting and styling. Here we see examples of headings, list elements, and we also have a show and hide toggle. I think the callout and dividers are nice additions. They add to the overall aesthetics of the page and are features that I've found missing in other apps. We were also able to access some styling features from an overlay that appears when highlighting text. And this also allows you to turn a link into a page, acting like a wiki, which is very easy to do. As you can see on the navigation on the left-hand side, it's very easy to create notes within notes and organize those notes. We can just drag and drop and notes will be updated with links internally. Within this new page, I have the same features as we do on the Getting Started page. I'm able to create new notes, I'm able to add images and embed other file types and meta objects. So immediately it's very quick, it's very easy to use. It looks nice aesthetically, I think it looks fantastic. And you can see here, this is the overall drawer as a note-taking app. What takes it above the gamut of note-taking apps in the marketplace is the additional functionality behind the blocks. You've got the simple blocks that I mentioned, but you also have these additional database block types, which allow you to add a table, a board, a list, a calendar, and a gallery, which have their own meta information and their own properties, which means each of these objects are so much more feature-rich and valuable to us as end users. Where this value really shines is in the task list. And you can see here, it's really a replacement for a Kanban board. As an example of using this for work, I can send links to tickets using a Notion extension, and I might be working on it in my current project, so I can then keep track of them locally. This allows me to add meta information to that ticket, for example, to do, doing, and done. And I might also add links and other pertinent information that I might not want to add to the team board. You can see each of the notes isn't just a simple string. Each task is its own page. With each note, you can add properties, and with that, we could also analyze that data and plug in charts to show that data diagrammatically. Furthermore, being able to toggle views between calendar list or table allows us to work with team members, and we can also only show views based on permissions, which means that we can tailor data depending on who's looking at it. I can see this helping simplify use and helping with data analysis across groups of people. The final template I just wanted to quickly mention is this kitchen template. This was created by a Notion user and shows how we can link data within databases. Here we have a grocery list, a recipe list, and a meal planning list, and they're all linked together so that we can sort one database based on properties of another. This allows us to filter meals for the week that I can prepare depending on whether stock for a particular item is low or not. So this shows the usefulness of having databases available within a note-taking app and how it can be used to supplant a number of other apps that we use in our day-to-day. So that's my very quick lightning overview of Notion and how we can use it and how it's changed my approach to organization and workflow, both at work and at home. I don't think I've demonstrated or even used all of its features by a long shot, but I just wanted to show a couple of things. Firstly, how enjoyable it is to use. I enjoy writing with it. I enjoy adding tasks and creating to-dos, and that's where the creativity comes into play. We need to enjoy the tools that we're using in order to do our best. I've really become an advocate for Notion, and I don't think I've ever done that with a bit of software before, but it now covers so many areas for me that I didn't know I needed, that it's now possibly my most valuable app. My takeaway from this is that I love the attitude that the creators of Notion had towards the mobile note-taking space. Despite being absolutely jam-packed, there's always room for one more. There's always capability to iterate and make things better or have an idea that hasn't been done before. Whether starting on a new project or working on a project that feels like it's set in stone, the attitude to approach is the key thing, and that's what will affect the outcome. And then create a movement. Researching for this talk online led me to a number of videos where people were saying the same thing, that they were looking for something different. And then they became staunch supporters of Notion and how it fulfilled a need for them. And if the devs at Notion can do it, you can too. So I now use this attitude in my personal and work life. It's changed how I approach new tasks, whether it's a whole new project or fixing a defect. It's helped spur an attitude towards doing things differently rather than go with the status quo. And that's where the pursuit of next comes from. Okay, that's enough from me. Thanks for listening. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have and hope you enjoy the rest of the summit. Cheers.